Saludos. Welcome to a new journey across the United States. I'm Juan de Dios Collado, and this is the first episode in a series where we explore the roots, values, and future of this great nation. And what better place to begin than here, in historic Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the seeds of the American experiment were first planted. A place that holds the weight of dreams, struggles, and a vision of freedom that has echoed across centuries. Here in Plymouth, we encounter the legacy of the Pilgrims, but also of the Wampanoag people who lived on this land for thousands of years before the arrival of Europeans. Their wisdom, resilience, and generosity shaped the first fragile years of the colonies. Let us honor their story as we walk through this living museum, not with costumes or cliches, but with respect and curiosity. We're not just tourists here. We are witnesses to a shared, complicated history. We explore how native communities survive using what nature provided, cooking over open fires, building homes from the forest, and healing with herbs passed down through generations. They were, in every way, the first stewards of this land.
Hardwoods don't give off much flame. Most of what they give off is heat. So think of it more like a coal fire, just radiating heat. Much hotter and longer lasting than these woods are right now. So most of the furs that we have in here are white-tailed deer furs, which is the last big game animal left in this region. Yeah. And also, virtually all of their clothing was animal skin. So furs in the wintertime, like that fur coat there, made from raccoons. These fur sleeves made from raccoons as well. And then just the soft skins, like those bags that are behind you guys. Another great way to stay warm other than with furs is using bear fat. It's kind of like lard, or basically is lard, just animal fat. You can cover your skin in it. And the Pilgrims talked with a native person, was a guy named Samoset, who was down from Maine. And he was bare-chested, bare-limbed, and it was early spring, still snow on the ground. And they're like, what is this guy, superhuman? Like, how is he not cold? It was because he was covered in bear fat. Like I said, very efficient way to stay warm, especially with the Wampanoag lifestyle, very, very active, a lot of movement in the wintertime, a lot of hunting. It's more preferable to not always be over-encumbered by furs. Yeah, you guys are welcome to come in if you want. Plenty of room in here.
Amigos, aquí pueden observar unas huetú o una de las chozas de los indígenas. La dejaron sin techo para que puedan observar la construcción.
And in the winter months, you preserve their grind it out with the sun. So they do that with like fruit grows and matures, it gets really hard.
Now we're standing just outside the craft center, right next to what are known as the humoral gardens. These aren't just any gardens. They're planted with medicinal herbs, arranged according to the ancient medical theory called the doctrine of humors. This was the dominant approach to medicine in 17th century England. And here in Plymouth Colony, it shaped how people understood health and healing. Inside the craft center, we step back in time. You'll see how colonial apothecaries used herbs to create teas, tonics, and ointments. The staff here are experts in 17th century medicine and explain each stage of remedy preparation. You'll also witness master artisans at work. Potters shaping clay, blacksmiths forging tools, and weavers at the loom. Each one recreating the object and techniques of early colonial life with incredible attention to historical detail. These crafts weren't just trades, they were lifelines, passed down through generations, carried across oceans, and kept alive in the heart of a new world. Amigos, allá hacia la distancia podemos escuchar como gritos de indio, de indígenas. We find a recreation of the English colony as it may have looked in the 1600s. We meet actors playing pilgrims, men, women, and children who speak in the present tense, as if history is unfolding before our eyes. And in a way, it still is. My children Aldred and Adele got to help with simple tasks, folding blankets, learning how people lived. These moments remind us that history becomes meaningful when we live it, not just read about it. Oh, aquí sí está oscuro.
How are you, Fairy?
Hello.
Good day. Right. Oh, do you want to help me finish making the bed?
I did.
We're trying to tuck it under the mattress. But it can never be perfect. I can't be perfect, only God can be. Alright, so we have 2 more blankets and 3 more pillows. Do you think you can help me with that? Wonders, you're welcome to help as well. Oh, Alright, so that is called a bolster and it goes at the head of the bed. Could you do that for me? Oh, lovely. Aye. And I'll put this pillow on there and that blanket will go with the fuzzy side up. Aye, and there's a seam down the middle, so that goes down the centre here. Could you help? You are an expert on the tucking in part now. Very good. If you could help her tuck and 1 more blanket. Now, if there is a green blanket behind the house here that's hanging on the fence, do you think you can fetch that for me? And there's a pillow sitting on top of a pillow bear outside. So you want to get a good size one.
That I thought it was a pillow that she asked you to get. Or maybe she asked you to get both.
Perfect, that's exactly what I was looking for. So we can put this onto the bed, just onto this here. Lovely. And that is perfect. If you could put it right next to that other one. Oh, look at that. Aye, these 2 have done a beauteous job, have they not? Aye. Promise you both of you for your assistance. Aye, this will be gorgeous. Thank you.
How often do ships come over from England?
Well, ships of supply will come once a year, mayhaps.
Oh.
And then you will also see, we've only seen 4 ships of people come here. So I arrived on one of the first ships called Mayflower, and then there were the Little Anne, the Little James, the Anne, and the Fortune. The Speedwell was supposed to arrive with Mayflower, but it could not leave the harbour. It was leaking overmuch.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that ship, not only were people put onto the Mayflower, but there was families split and put onto the Little James and the Anne. And the Little James, the Anne also struggled to get here, and it took maybe 3-4 years for each ship to arrive here.
Size and preference.
Ooh.
And I want you to give it a few mighty whacks, right?
Take the other one out.
Your grace will be enough when my
Good job, Padre. Good job.
eyes can't see
We can send you back to. We can
what
send you
you
back to
have
the 17th century.
prepared for me.
Uh-oh.
Your grace will be enough. And strength is rising
Mighty whacks.
as I wait patiently.
Diana the Huntress.
Your words, they comfort me. Strength is rising.
It's like here.
Lift up your heads, you weary souls. Our God is not done yet. Our King will come with the
I
morning
don't know if you can
light,
survive the
bringing
17th
joy
century.
to the darkest of night. Carry on, all you pilgrims. Don't lose heart, for the journey is long. At the end of your wanderings, lift your hands and bless the
Let's see the back of this
Lord.
house.
Carry on, all you pilgrims. Don't lose heart, His strength will still come. At the end of your wanderings, you'll see the grace that He giveth and giveth and giveth again. Your word will be enough when I cannot hear, when I start to fear.
So this. But here we are building our temporary homes here, and we are working on paying for the land. Once we have finished paying for the land, then we will build more permanent homes on plots assigned to us that we actually own. So.
Hello, I just follow you a bit.
Alright, that's fine. All going to different places, like we are.
I bet you don't know what object I'm holding, do you?
Right, long stick that you put in our bed. Your bottom. I'm going this way. We'll go to the bed, Jane.
That's it.
It's a very fast ship.
Shipping on your ship then when I came over from England then. My journey on Mayflower was 66 days long.
Ooh.
Follow me. Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is a process called symbolic. It's in order to, I'm just going to drop this. If we go into tangle, that will be into hanging to untangle. Point to this. Hold this. That's there. You're going to hammer this down. Okay. There you are. Just hammer away at it. All right. Now, I need you lass, going to take the other handle, and you're going to walk as far as you can all the way up there, alright? We'll make a trail. So just walk all the way up there as far as you can. Pray to Jehovah this doesn't get too tangled. Jehovah loves me. Alright. Alright. So now, what you're going to do, this is a plane right here. This is to make it so that it's going to be a straight line. I can tell just by eyeballing it, this is not straight. No. So you want to be in line with this. Okay. Alright, so you place it on top, have it. Keep going. You're right there. I'm helping you cheat, you're welcome.
We're about to step aboard the Mayflower II, a faithful replica of the ship that carried over 100 souls across the Atlantic in 1620. Imagine the storms, the fear, the hope. Even as a Navy veteran, I'm humbled thinking of what these families faced, not for riches, but for the promise of freedom. This is where the American journey began. They endured months at sea in cramped conditions with sickness and fear as constant companions, but they persevered, and their journey became the spark that lit a flame, not of perfection, but of purpose.
Your grace will be enough when my eyes can't see what you have prepared for me. Your grace will be enough. And strength is rising as I wait patiently. Your words, they comfort me. Strength is rising. Lift up your heads, you weary souls. Our God is not done yet. Our King will come with the morning light, bringing joy to the darkest of night. Carry on, all you pilgrims. Don't lose heart.
How many people could the ship hold at the time?
Well, there's 100 of them down there,
100.
and then there's the crew in the ship up here, which is maybe 25 to 30 possibly.
Grace that He giveth and giveth and giveth again. Your word will be enough when I cannot hear, when I start to fear.
So the reason the knots are every 42 feet, those of you that are joining us, we are talking about calculating the speed of ships. It's 1620. Time to the end of a 4-hour shift to let them know one has ended and the next 4-hour shift has begun. And also, if you need all hands on deck, you're just going to bring that thing as far as you can.
Carry on, oh you pilgrims. Don't lose heart, His strength will still come. At the end of your wanderings, you'll see the grace that He giveth and giveth again.
Bueno, señores, ya nos vamos a desembarcar de aquí de Mayflower II. ¿Qué le pareció a ustedes el barco para navegar 2 meses por el Atlántico? No, ningún valiente aquí en esta familia para navegar. Así que ni a mí me hubiera gustado viajar 2 meses en un barco como este, solo temiendo a las tormentas. Pero gracias a Dios que ellos lo pudieron lograr y pudieron fundar esta gran nación que debemos proteger y debemos hacer todo lo posible por seguir unidos, así como se llaman los Estados Unidos, unidos, no divididos como los medios nos quieren hacer estar. Bueno,
At the end of your wanderings, you'll see the grace that He
There you go.
giveth and giveth and giveth again.
we now visit the historic Plymouth Grist Mill, a faithful reconstruction of the 1636 water-powered mill built by the early English colonists. Here you can witness how innovation and perseverance helped the settlers survive. The same brook that powered the original mill still flows today, just as determined as the people who built their lives here. Inside, we see the giant 14-foot water wheel and the massive millstones that grind corn into flour, just as they did nearly 400 years ago. Though today the mill wasn't in operation due to a mechanical issue, we were still able to see the inner workings and pick up some of the cornmeal, milled the traditional way, which is still used by local bakers and families. This isn't just a museum piece, it's a symbol of how practical knowledge, hard work, and a connection with nature help build a new world. It reminds us that the foundation of this nation wasn't only written in documents, it was carved into stone, turned by water, and built by hands that believed in tomorrow.
Is once they've been kind of worn down in one direction, you can simply rotate them and work them again in another direction. We have a type of stone called French burr, which is a type of quartz. These stones are more accurate to the
We stand at Plymouth Rock, a controversial symbol, yes, but one that reminds us that this nation, like every human endeavor, began with flawed people seeking something better. Massasoit, the native leader who welcomed the Pilgrims, played a role history often forgets. Without his wisdom, the colony may not have survived. Let's never ignore the truth that it was collaboration, not conquest alone, that allowed the story to move forward. This towering monument behind me represents the values the Pilgrims hoped to uphold: faith, morality, law, education, and liberty. Ideals we still strive toward today, sometimes imperfectly, sometimes beautifully. amigos, llegamos a nuestra última etapa de este viaje, esta vez en Plymouth, Massachusetts. Bienvenido a Morton Park. To close our journey, we stop here in Morton Park, because no story of America is complete without nature, without the rivers, forests, and wildlife that have sustained both native and settler alike. And this is a reminder, America is not just its past, it is its future. A nation with mistakes, yes, but also with the strength to rise above them, together. So let's keep walking, let's keep talking. Let's remember that we are called the United States of America, and it's in unity, not division, that we find our strength. Join me as we continue this road trip across the nation to discover its people, its history, and its soul, because understanding each other is the first step toward building a better tomorrow.